Hello and welcome back to Simply at Home. Today's video I'm going to be talking about neem flower. Why neem flower? Because it is a season right now and the season is going to come to an end. Spring is the right season for neem flowers. Why neem flower? So I'm going to be sharing why neem flower, why to collect them, what to do with them and so on. That's the entire video that's going to be shot today. So the aspects that I'm going to be covering are when will you find it, how to collect it, how to store it or shelf life, how long can you have it, medicinal benefits of neem flower, and one topic which most of us who have known neem flower, its traditional reasons, the medicinal reasons, many of us do know that it has medicinal aspect from where we come from in India, but still a lot of questions are being tagged from a very religious perspective and seen as an orthodox aspect. So that's another point that I'm going to be covering, which I don't know how many of you are going to come back to me with a different mind frame, but I'm going to be sharing what I have understood over the years from a traditional perspective of why it's being treated differently. So let's dive in. So I'm going to be taking you straight to the neem tree first. And for many of us who know a neem tree or how it looks like, fantastic. For the others who would like to see how the flower looks like and how it's collected, let's dive in. Welcome back again. So this is below the neem tree. So before I get into how it looks and stuff, I'm going to just prepare what I've brought in. Normally we use any muslin cloth and it's just spread on the floor. White, because you can easily figure out which is the neem flower, which is the dust, and you can easily segregate them. So I'm just putting in a white piece of old shirt that I have, and so voila. So I'm just going to keep this right below the neem tree, and we're going to be collecting as the flowers dry up and fall onto this. We're going to be collecting them on a daily basis for another couple of days. So let me just keep it in the landing space. So the heavier the utensil, or if you have a big cloth that you can spread where you have a space nice and even, you can keep stones in the corner and you can keep collecting it on a daily basis. This is more close to the road for me here, and it is prone to attract a lot of dust. Considering now it's in the lockdown, I'm not going to have that problem. So let's keep this. So let it keep collecting. So in the meantime, I'm going to show you the difference on how a dried neem leaf versus a neem flower versus a fresh neem flower is going to look. So this is the closest that I could get. This, what you're seeing, is neem flower, which is both dried and fresh, a combination of both. The ones white in color are quite fresh, and the ones that is brown in color is what that will fall onto where we want it to be collected. This is the difference between the flowers that I would like to show. This is freshly plucked right now from the tree. So this will be as white as it is. And what you can see at the edges are the ones that is drying up, which will fall, and we can collect them in the cloth or on a container that you're going to be placing below the tree. Now if you can get them, you can also pluck them like this. I had plucked them a couple of days ago to show you the difference between the fresh ones versus the dried ones. I have sun dried these, and this is how they would turn out to be: brittle and brown in color. So once you get to this condition, you can just put them in nice fresh dry sun dried container, and it can stay for years together. So the time to collect it is spring, between March and the first few weeks of April. if you're here in India, where it's flowering time and after which it will start fruiting. We just saw the methods in which we can collect them, one being in the city where you can put it on a container or on a big plate, put any cotton cloth, because that's when it's easier to segregate and use them. Thirdly, we also saw the difference between which is the flower which is fresh to dry. It just takes a couple of days in the sun for it to dry, and once it dries, you just need some dry container to put it on and store it for years together. You just need to have your hands fresh and dry and clean when you're going to pull it off from the container. You don't need to refrigerate it. It's just going to be amazingly kept on the container. The next summer you can again open the container, keep it in the sun to dry up if there is any other moisture, if it's trapped inside it, so it can still continue to be there. So we've seen those three aspects, fourth being medicinal aspect. So I'm going to be linking below one of the doctors talk about being in the current lockdown period as well, why the neem flower is useful and so on. Yes, there is a lot of medicinal benefits to it, and that's the reason why we have the freshly brewed kashayam, or should I call it the dry flower tea. So that is something we also consume here on a regular basis to avoid any form of medicine as medicine and the chemical term. So now I'm going to go into the most important aspect. I don't know how many of you all are going to prefer this, but why is this neem tree considered traditionally a very sacred tree, for example, if I have to call it? They would apply turmeric, they would keep the space around it clean, apply with cow dung and keep it fresh right below it, and any form of meditation or prayer, when you put along to let's say chanting or whatever it is, whatever your faith is, that space normally is kept clean, neat and tidy. Have you ever observed that? Any place of prayer, would you go to a place which is stinking and not clean and so on? So to continue the same, or to adopt that same tradition, I'm assuming that's why it was kept clean, is what I initially thought. But later when I started getting into the understanding as to how my grandparents and everybody used to collect them, they used to keep that space completely clean, wash that entire space up. So what they had to do was, they just had to collect it from the floor, this neem flower, and start storing them. So when it's by discipline, when the space is kept clean and neat and tidy, when do you do that? Either they put in fear saying, oh, it has to be that way, or there's an amount of faith to it. So let's not get into the religious aspect as what others would call it. If you want to benefit out of this, and if you have it naturally growing in your local space, please collect them, store them. And I will also be linking in what other things that we can do in a different video, which I'll be linking in below with these neem flowers. What else can you do and how else can you consume them? So I'm going to be showing you slightly how this place is not fallen on all those places. If that place is not very neat enough, how can you collect them? So a space like this would always be kept neat and tidy and washed up and applied with turmeric, so people didn't put their foot onto it. Because what we're going to do is, once we collect these flowers, we're going to consume them. You don't want to put your feet or any dirty item on it. So that was the reason. At Simply at Home, this is Ramya. Stay indoors, stay safe, and anything that is very close to you and very important, once you know its importance, you know how you keep it safe, you know how to safeguard it. So I guess that was one of the reasons why they knew other benefits, such as what kind of air it gives, the bark, why it's used for brushing, or the leaves, how it's important to clean your stomach and so on. So holistically, it's an amazing tree. So having said that, that's what I think could be the reason why traditionally it was kept safe, clean and neat. Thank you again for listening patiently, and I'll be linking in below in the description what else we can do with this tree.